Now, before this video begins, I would like to say that I personally have played about maybe 10 hours of this game, so my opinion will probably differ from yours. I have not reached a lot of the late game heroes, so a lot of people will definitely be farther than me in this game. So what you're seeing in the background of today's video will not be the best of gameplay. I'm still pretty new to the game, so please don't judge on the gameplay. Now, before I show you the gameplay, a lot of the people's magic about the game, a lot of the reason why they love the game, is playing it itself. Now, watching the game is a whole other experience. But before you actually watch the game, I want you to go download it on your computer, your phone, whichever. It's free, it's pretty small, downloads pretty quickly, and you can play. It's that simple. If you don't enjoy the game, then that's fine. Not everybody enjoys the game. But I just wanted to give you that quick disclaimer before the rest of this video. Now, let's go on with the video. For first impressions of the game, when I first saw the game, I was like, oh, cool, it's an anime-style open-world RPG. But yes, that is the most easy, simple way to explain it. A lot of people would call it an anime Breath of the Wild. I'd have to agree. But you can't really call all open-world games a Breath of the Wild game, but it is similar. Now, a lot of the time that I was playing the game, when I first started playing, I walked up this area, and I got the first ability that you get in the game, which is a wind gust ability, because there are different elements, but I'll explain that later. Now, the abilities, which I'll also explain later, are the most basic form of combat in the game. I'd say for me, and just when I first started playing, the major difference from this game and all other open world games is the combat and the art style. The music, which you're going to be hearing through the video, is a whole other topic, but it's something that it's hard to explain, so you'll have to wait for that. Now, a lot of the time that you're going to be playing this game, you're going to be like, oh, this is cool, I can go do this quest, I can level up, I can do combos on these monsters. But there's also a competitive area for this game, and I think that's a cool thing. But I think one of the coolest things is that you can play this game with your friends. There is multiplayer in an anime-style open-world game. And I think that really speaks about how much this game has in store. There's different characters that you can play as, different abilities that you can use, different elements that you can use. I don't even know how many characters there are. Let me look it up. How many characters in Genshin Impact? 24 characters. That's of October 12th. That is a long time ago. And I'm pretty sure ever since then, they've been announcing a lot more characters. So I'd say around 27-ish now. But that's how many playable characters there are. Using each of them different elements. I mean, some of them use the same elements. With each different fighting styles, different abilities. And I think that's really cool. And I think it really shows how much this game really has a diverse area. Because a lot of games, they have like a niche following where if you like this style of game, then you're gonna like this game. But with Genshin, it's almost a whole other thing. You can play the game for the story. You can play the game for the art style. You can play the game for the combat. There's so many different things to play the game for. You could play the game because it's a free multiplayer online game. You could play the game because it has cool side quests. You could play the game because the music is gorgeous. It's actually insanely good. And you can play the game because there's so many little details that they care about, and that they're constantly making updates to make the game better. They are improving upon their game to make it better. And I think that's one of the main problems with a lot of games, is that they don't know how to improve themselves in a way that people will like. If people improve their game in a way that people won't like, then nobody's gonna play the game because nobody likes that part of the game. But with Genshin, if they accidentally do something in a way that that the community doesn't like, not only can they change it very soon because their updates are very often, but they can still have people playing the game because there's different reasons to play the game. But you'll see that in the background where there's a lot of almost shrine-like things from Breath of the Wild that teach you how the game mechanics work. At the early beginning of the game, I was like, oh, this is so cool. There's these things that teach you how the game works. I remember there was this one shrine. It was about elemental reactions. And that's just kind of what the whole game's about. Using different reactions to combo, as well as switching characters. And I think that's really cool. But that's it for first impressions and thoughts. Now we're going to get on to the gameplay section, which we're going to be talking about characters, movement styles, dungeons, and cooking. Now, for gameplay, we have characters, movement styles, dungeons, and cooking, which is a thing that might seem like a lot, because there is a lot in this game. As I already said, there are about 27 characters now in the game, and they're adding constantly more. Each character can use a different ability, and that makes them have a different playstyle. Like, the one I personally like a lot, which people consider a low tier, because he's not that good, and I don't have any of the later on characters, is Kaya. He's an ice guy, and I really like his combos. Now, a lot of the thing with the gameplay is this section where you can add artifacts. Now, artifacts are a thing that you can add to your character to make them stronger. You can level up your artifacts, but the coolest thing about artifacts is that you can have 5 artifacts on your character at a time. Each artifact has a class and a buff that artifact provides, as well as the class buff, which means if you have 2 or 4 of the artifact, like let's say you have the I think it's adventure artifact, then if you get 2 of those artifacts, then you get a bonus of 1000 health, I think. And then if you get 4 of those artifacts, something completely different happens. I don't remember because I don't use that. But there are different things for each individual class of artifacts for each individual character, that each has a different class of elements, that each has a different fighting style, that each uses a different weapon. Because there's different types of weapons, which I'm going to talk about in the combat section. Now, on to movement styles. Now, this game has the basic movement. It has running, jumping, climbing. Climbing takes stamina. But a lot of the main combat with the movement is a thing called a dash. On computer, you can right click or press shift to dash. But dashing uses stamina. And you fly forward and then you start a run that starts eating up your stamina. But if you constantly are dashing, then that is completely something different. That gets you around so incredibly fast. But it's a really effective and efficient way to do it, because you get around really fast and you burn less stamina. But there's also gliding, which a lot of people would say, oh, they stole that from Breath of the Wild. But I kind of feel like they improved it from Breath of the Wild, because in Breath of the Wild, gliding is a heavily exploitable thing. It completely negates fall damage for one, but in Breath of the Wild, it is very, not only fast, but very efficient and useful for glitches. In Genshin, the glider is not very fast. A lot of the cool things about the movement in the game is just how much they improve upon not only existing mechanics, but they add their own. Some abilities even give you movement. Some artifacts give you movement speed. Some artifacts give you energy recharge. Now, we're going to be going on to dungeons, which you're going to see in the background, right? And the dungeons are a whole different thing, because they're not part of the main story. Some of them are, but not really. They're mainly side quests. And I remember that there's this one side quest that has a dungeon where it's like Kaya from the Royal Guard tells you that his grandfather had a treasure because his grandfather was a pirate and he inherited his eye patch. So you go searching around and you find a chest that gives you a map, and that gives you a map to another chest, and that gives you a map to a location that you go to. And in reality, I'm not going to spoil it, but it leads to a dungeon. And that's not even a main story. That's something that would take you like 30 minutes maybe. And that's a side quest. There's so much to do in this game. Like, dungeons, as I said earlier in the first thoughts and impressions about the game, there are a lot of almost teaching you how to play the game dungeons. Like, there's an elemental site dungeon. There's a dungeon that are part of the main story, I believe, that help you progress. And there are dungeons that just are fun to do because they don't take much time. Now, on to cooking. Cooking, I feel, is something about the game that isn't as good as Breath of the Wild, but it's still pretty good. The way that cooking works in this game is you can get recipes from people. And they can give you that recipe, and then you can cook it, and it's a timing thing. After you get that, like 5, 10, or 15 of them cooked, or however many it takes for that specific food, then you can auto-cook it. And I think that's really cool, because you don't have to sit there, and you can just auto-cook it. But there's also a cool part about the cooking, where it's basically allows you to take, or to make, jam, flour, I believe ham as well. All of those things that can be made there can not only be sold, but can also be eaten, and made into new things. Now, or just get more ingredients, and that's the cool thing, is that no matter how low you are on food, you can just explore for like 30 minutes, get ingredients, get food, and then you're good to go. But that's it for the gameplay section, because a lot of the gameplay really is in the story and the art and the music, as well as the combat. But so it's hard to go into this section without talking about those things, so I'm going to talk about those things next. The gameplay is a thing that, yes, important, but it's not really the main thing about the game. It's mainly experiencing the story, experiencing the music, experiencing the combo and the combat, and experiencing the art style from a first-person view. Even people that don't like anime-style things will agree this game looks good, because there are different elements to how it looks good, and I'm going to go on to that later. But that is the end of the gameplay section. Now we're going on to the story section. Now, we're going to be moving on to our story section here, which we have voice acting, main quest, and side quests. The voice acting in this game is something that I kind of fell in love with. It's really pretty in a way. A lot of the voice acting just has so much emotion, because you really feel like you're talking to that person, and the voice really fits. There's no voice in the game that I've heard yet that I would say, that voice doesn't really fit. All the voices fit. They feel like what that character would actually sound like, and I think that's great. A lot of the reason why a lot of voice acting really isn't that good is because the voice actor that they pick either doesn't really have the same voice as what the character would sound like, they don't have enough emotion, or they don't know how to express that what they're feeling in game, or what their character is going through. I think that really is something that a lot of other games don't do. They don't choose the perfect voice actor. They don't choose a voice actor that matches what their character is feeling or going through. Now on to the main quest. The game starts is that you and your sibling are like world travelers, but then when you try and travel out of this world, a god stops you and kidnaps the other sibling that you don't choose, because you get to choose which sibling you want, the boy or the girl. I think that's a really cool concept, because it makes us care. If you don't care about the story in a game, if you don't care about what you're doing in a game, then you don't care about the game. You care about completing that thing, but you don't care about that thing itself. If you know that there is a reason to complete something, but you don't care about completing it, then you're gonna do it, but not because you cared about it, because there was a reward, or there was a reason for doing it. But if you care about something, if you care about the story enough to do it without really any reward, then that's really awesome. And I think that's why open world games are so good, is because the game itself has to balance out to make this story good enough to make you care. If you don't care about the story, then you're not going to do the story, you're just going to do all the side quests. Because that's the problem with a lot of open world games. They don't have a good storyline, so you just do all the side quests. And I think this is where Genshin and Breath of the Wild, they really kind of stand out as two games that have a lot of side quests, but instead of doing all those, you still want to do the story, because the story is interesting and you care. Now on to side quests, which I've already kind of talked about. There are a lot of side quests in the game. I'm pretty sure there was this one side quest that allows you to try out this one spear fire girl. I don't remember her name, but you meet her and she wants cooking ingredients. So you travel around the world getting the ingredients, and then when you get the last ingredient, there's a guy frozen in ice that you save, and then he leads you to this area that you go inside, and there's an extinct type of boar in there. So she wants you to go inside, so you go inside, and you have to fight this boss, or mini-boss. And then when you come out, apparently the guy that was frozen in ice was from the past, and was like 100 years in the past. And then, like, I guess they kind of gloss over that, but then they have a cooking competition between the main character, which you help them, and then there's this other person, which I always thought was kind of unfair, that you're giving the person that you think that you're like friends with help, but the other person is getting no help, so it's kind of an unfair advantage. But I think that is a really cool idea, because it's not something that could be totally unconceivable in a world where there are people that can travel between dimensions. There's probably going to be somebody frozen in ice that's going to be from the past. I mean, I don't really know, but that's probably something that has happened in this world before, and it has. There are also other side quests that for each character. For each of the characters in the game, there are side quests. there's side quests for cooking. There's side quests in the game itself. I think one of my favorite side quests was when it's in this little, have to go up this cliff, and then up the cliff there are 3 areas. Each area has a different boss in it, and once you complete that area and beat the boss, there's a chest in the middle that spawns, and it gives you something really good. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's really good. As well as the boss itself giving you good loot, so you already have a lot of stuff. And that for me probably took like 45 minutes. I mean, I probably dallied a lot. I probably just didn't pay attention to the actual quest, and I probably did a lot of other stuff, but I did care about that quest, because I'm like, oh, this is a cool quest, I should do this. Because that is something that's great. If a side quest, much like the main quest, is so good that you actually want to do them. Because sure, with this game, you could mainly focus on the main quest. Oh wait, you can't. A lot of the main quest progression is tied to your adventure level. I think that a lot of the quests, you have to be a certain level. A lot of the main quests, you have to be a certain level to do. So you have to explore. You have to do a lot of the side quests. Now, in Breath of the Wild, there are speedruns where they don't do any of the side quests. They just do the main quests. And that's how they do speedruns. But I think that even for a casual player, if the side quests aren't interesting, then there's no reason to do them. Why not just do the regular quests? Why not just do the main quest? Because that's not the point of an open world game. An open world game has side quests and main quests that you care about both. To make it so that you, as a person, have incentive to do either of them. In Genshin, it's a bit different because a lot of the main quests are level locked, but a lot of the story with the side quests is actually really interesting. Because there's this one quest that I despised at the time, but now I actually kind of love it. Where you get a letter from somebody and you have to deliver it to somebody on the complete opposite side of the map. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna take a while. 1, it didn't really take as long as I thought it was. And 2, I explored so much of the map. I had this top area completely covered, but there was this entire bottom area that I had never been to before, and I was only going there because of a side quest. A side quest interested me enough to walk down the entire map because I wanted to explore. I wanted to see what it was like, and I needed incentive to do it. And that's what the side quest gave me. It gave me incentive to go down there. It gave me a reason to go down there. If there was no reason to go down there, I probably would have gone down there eventually. But that place that I went down to is one of the most beautiful places in the game, which I'm going to get into next with the art. But it was really pretty, and I was so happy that I had gone there. Sure, it took like 30 minutes, but really, I think it's worth it. Because I was exploring, and that's the thing about an open world game that you have to love. The exploration. If you don't love the exploration of a game, then you're not going to love an open world game, because that's what a lot of open world games are about, exploring. And this kind of goes back to the side quest thing, where if you don't care about exploring, if you only care about the main quest, then you're never going to explore, because there's no reason to. There's not a reason to explore. But if there is a reason to explore, that it comes in the form of side quests, then you're gonna have a lot more fun. There's incentive to explore with different towers, different areas, different mobs or monsters that you can find. But that's it for the story section. Now we're going on to art. Now, for art, we have a great looking game that, well, you've seen that throughout the gameplay in the background, and that little section where I let you just look at the game. But there is so much beauty to the game. There's so much color, there's so much life. There's not a single area that isn't just full of color that I've found yet. It's basically like, hey, this game has both anime style and also very nice coloring. So if you take away either one of those things, it's not as good. Color without the anime style, then it's just a regular free roam game. In art style, it still has a lot of other elements that make it different, but that anime style makes it special. It makes it important compared to every other one. Every other free roam doesn't have an anime style. I I really don't think that there's another free roam out there like Genshin. But now we're going to be going on to the map design area. Now, the map design area, it has a lot to do with just the map itself. Not only is there a lot of cliffs and areas that you can go to on the map, but each place on the map serves importance. Because, like I said in the quest area, I had a quest where I had to take a letter from somebody to the very bottom of the map, and that explored me throughout the map. That's a quest that gave me a world-building potential. There's also different quests that give you the same thing. There's an area where you have to fly to an island. There are so many different areas that allow you to just explore and have fun. The first place that you start off with has like cliffs and everything, and then you pass through forests. But you don't really have to. You can just go up into the mountains and start training. You don't have to go into the forest until later. And I guess I'm kind of just explaining a free roam game there. But a lot of the time that you spend moving around the map is just trying to figure out not only where to go, because it's either not explicitly shown, or you're just adventuring. Because adventuring is the main focus of a free roam game, because it allows you to be able to find new things on your own. Now, back to the little break that I gave you. That area was the peaks of an area. And I remember when I first went there, I was climbing up a mountain, and the music set in. And the music is what made it. It's not only the map design, but the music that you get in that area, which I'm going to go into later in the music section, which is next. But there's different types of music for each time of day. There's music for the nighttime, there's music for the daytime, there's music for the dawn, there's music for the sunset. There's music for every time of day, and it's all different. We can see how it evolves through night and day. We can tell the difference. It's not a subtle difference, too. Sometimes it is a subtle difference, but a lot of the time, it's a very drastic difference. A lot of the time at nighttime, it's very calm. But during combat, the music picks up, and it's just exploding with energy. It's basically showing to you, hey, this is a fast-paced situation. You need to react. And I think that's cool, because it has music tailored to every situation. A lot of games have that, don't get me wrong. But I think Genshin does it a lot better. And they just have music for every single situation. There are so many different areas. There's so many different mountains, each one with its own music. I believe there's also different music for every monster, but I'm not certain about that. But they have so many different types of music, and each one is tailored to the time and so many factors. I think that's the nature of a free roam game, and I think that's one of the best parts about a free roam game, is there's so many different outcomes. Like, for Genshin, you have different characters that each can use different abilities, that can each use different elements, that can each use different artifacts, that can each go on to a separate dungeon, that can each go to a separate part of the map, that can each start a separate side quest, that can each have, like, they can go to a separate area that has separate music that's based on different areas. Like, there's so many different things that can happen in Genshin, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because with Genshin, we know that whatever happens, we're still playing the same game, and I think that's cool, because it makes us, it allows us to have that many different things happen in a free-to-play game with online multiplayer that has all of those variables, all of those things that can happen. And honestly, that's impressive, because that's something that I've never seen any other game do. Be a free-to-play game with that many cool elements. That's also multiplayer and a free roam, which is a lot of people's favorite style of game. I know it's one of my favorites. Because free roam games, you get to do what you want. You don't have to worry about anything else. You get to do whatever you want. You get to go wherever you want. You get to explore however you want. You can do different side quests. You can do the main quests. And I think Genshin does that so incredibly well. But that's it for the map design and music section. Now we're going to go into the combat section and then overall rating. Now, for combat section, we have a lot of different variables. Not only do we have combos, we have multi-hit attacks, we have abilities, and we have elements. Each of those things can create their own combat environment. Each different mob can have different elements with it already. Like in the background, you'll see some slimes that are electric that I can affect with different things, because different elements interact. Like, if an enemy is wet, that means that they've either been hit by a water attack, or they've stepped in water. This goes for you too, the person playing. If you get hit by an ice attack, you will get frozen. There's different elemental reactions like that. You can make a fire tornado. You can make so many different things with the elemental reactions, because not only do they happen using abilities and combos, but they happen in the environment itself, because in the environment there's already water, there's already different things like fire and air that you can combine with, and there's already different elements that there are. And the main reason for combat is the multi-hit attacks, where if you attack a target multiple times, it'll do something special. I know for Kaya, who's my favorite, before he does his multi-hit attack, he stabs forward and then he teleports behind them and attacks them. And I think that's super cool, because different people have different multi-hits. I know the main character has like a wind blade thing where it fires out a blade of wind, I think. I don't know. But I think the different types of multi-hit attacks as well. Like, some people that are mages teleport backwards, and they all use different things. And for just combos in general, you can be constantly switching between characters. You can use a fire character, light the ground on fire, and then use the main character, set up a tornado, and then make a fire tornado and suck all the enemies inside. Or you could swap between a water character and an ice character and keep on freezing them constantly. There's so many different things that you can do with the different types of combat. There's different things that affect combat. There are different areas in which that combat will be more difficult, because different monsters level up at different times. The different monsters is another main reason for combat, because different monsters have different weapons that each do different things. There's some monsters that have giant wooden shields, and the only way to take out the shield is by hitting it with a fire attack, and then you could start attacking it. There's different elements like that. I know that one of the main elemental reactions is just fire on wood. There's different wood in some of the camps, and you can just shoot a fire arrow at it with Amber, who sucks, and I don't use her. But you can do that, and it can allow it to set on fire and set up a combo. There's so many different combo setups that there are. There's so many different things. And the thing is, the combos aren't even hard. They're a thing that you can get used to really easily. You don't even have to look up a guide on how to do it. You can literally just do it. You can try it if you want. You can like attack like 3 times, hold attack, which is another thing, and then you can dash forward when they're knocked away by your hold attack. Hold attacks are basically just a powerful attack that you have to hold. But there's so many different things that you can do to make your combos better, and a lot of it just comes down to practice. If you've practiced your combos more, then you're probably going to be better at combos. And combos aren't really a high skill, low reward thing. They're a low skill, high reward thing. They don't take much skill at all, but they're so effective and so great at doing what you want them to. Because if you have an enemy that you don't want to get close to, then you can hit it with a stun attack, and then you can go in, combo it, quickly knock it away, then dash forward, combo it again, and then dash forward and combo it again. The dashing is another form of combat, which you can use to gap close your enemies, which is why it sucks to fight without energy. But I think that the simpleness, for one, the simplicity at which you can combo, and the way that you can combo, just creates so much difference. But I think that's mainly for combat. I'm not very good at combat. A lot of people are probably better than me at combat. Probably most people are. But I only know the base mechanics, and I can still perform pretty well, because it's not a hard concept to learn about combos in this game. But for overall rating, I'm really gonna have to say that most people will enjoy this game. It's hard for me to say that not a lot of people would enjoy this game. A lot of people like free roams. And like I said earlier, there's so many reasons to play this game. A lot of games, they have one niche with them. But this game, it has so many different things. There's the combat, there's the art style, there's the elements, there's the abilities, there's the there's the combos, there's the story, there's the side quest, there's the free roam aspect, there's the discovery aspect, there's the main storyline. There's so many different things that you can get into this game for, and each of them have their own respective fan base. Me personally, I'm a fan of basically everything in this game, because I could just sit there and do whatever, because there's so many different things to do. There's different camps to clear out, there's different chests that you can find, there's a lot of different side quests, there's different characters that you can unlock. Each of those characters have different things. And I think that's really cool, because this is a free-to-play game. Free-to-play. On your phone and your PC. That I think... I don't think it's cross-platform. But that updates every like 5 to 6 months, that has so many different cool elements. There's not one person that I can confidently say would not like this game, because it has so many different things to it that somebody can enjoy about it. I can understand if somebody doesn't enjoy everything about the game, but if somebody did not enjoy this game, then I would legitimately be surprised, because there's so many different elements to enjoy about it. And you could enjoy one of these elements because they're each important to the gameplay. You could just be exploring the entire time if you wanted to, and that could work. You could just be fighting the entire time, and that would work. You could just be grinding out side quests the entire time, and that would work. There's so many different things to do. There's ores that you can mine to craft new weapons. There's bosses that you can fight. There's a lot of different ways to go about playing this game. And I think that's the best part about it. There's so many different things that can happen. Each of those things that can happen will probably happen because there's so many different types of areas that you can go to. There's so many different types of music in those areas that each affected by the time of day. There's so many different artifacts that you can have on your characters. There's so many different elemental reactions that you can have happen. There's so many different combos that you can do. There's so much you can do in this free-to-play online multiplayer game. What's not to love? There's literally nothing about this game that somebody would not like. I know that a lot of people like, oh, it's an anime style game, that means that I don't really like anime style games. But like, you don't have to play it for the anime style. There's different combat mechanics, there's so many different things. There's not one reason to play it. There's not one simple reason to play it. I remember I played it because it was a free-to-play free roam game on the computer. And then I got into it and I'm like, wow, this game is awesome. There's so many different combos that you can do. There's so many different areas that you can go to. I remember when I first completed the tutorial area and I saw a blue dragon fly over and I was like, wow, that's so cool. That's insane. And then I saw that that's not even that much compared to what the rest of this game has. There's so many other things. There's a side quest where you have to help a pirate just sit down and watch the lake. It's great. There's a side quest where you have to... There's a side quest where you have to go up and just clear out areas. There's a side quest where you have to just explore. There's so many different side quests and areas that you can go to. Each of those areas having different people to talk to, different quests to do, different things to buy. There's a massive tree town because their original town wasn't safe enough. There's a ton of broken ruins and stuff. It's amazing. There's a ton of areas that you can go to that are full of beauty and flowers. There's so much to this game because it's a huge game. But it's not really. The thing about this game is that it's small. There's not that many elements of the game. But each of those elements combined, you make the game huge. They make the game fun. They make it exciting. Because there are different things to get excited about in the game. But that's my Genshin review. Now, before this video ends, I just want to say thanks for watching. This is my first commentary video, and I kind of want to do more of these in the future. But let me know down below in the comments, did you agree with Genshin? Have you played the game before? Like, any person can play this game. I'm pretty sure everybody watching this either has a phone or something to download this game on. But thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and hopefully I can make more content like this, because it's really fun to make, but it's a lot of work.